Hey everyone, my name is Shankar and you are watching Crack Interview with Shiv. Friends, many times it might have happened that our resume don't get shortlisted because of the unknown reasons, and the reasons are obviously unknown because the hiring manager don't shortlist our resume, and there's nobody to tell us why our resume didn't get shortlisted, right? So we get many questions like what to include, what not to include, what to do, what not to do, and all, right? So in today's video we are going to discuss the same thing in detail. What things we should include in our resume, what thing we shouldn't include in our resume. Then I'll share some sample resumes for freshers and for experienced, and at last I'll share some bonus tips as well. So let's start with the video. So this is the agenda for today's session. We will first discuss about some of the important sections that should be included in the resume. I would say that must be included in your resume, and we'll be talking about the important sections because it's not possible to include anything and everything obviously. So we should know some important sections to be included in the resume. Then we will be talking about some of the do's and don'ts, and I'll be sharing some of the sample resumes, basically one for fresher and one for experienced, and those resume will be mine resumes, the exact resumes which I used when I was fresher, and which I used when I made my first switch as an experienced. And at the end of the video I'll be sharing some bonus tips. So this is the important section, so don't skip the video in the middle, watch the video till the end. Let us discuss about the important sections that must be included in your resume. Okay, so I would be very brief now about these sections. I would talk more when I show my resumes to you. Okay, so don't worry about this thing ki I'm not talking much or I'm not sharing more details right now. So the first thing would be introduction. It's not your introduction basically, it's introduction about your profession, or that would be basically your professional summary, like I have this much of experience, I am enthusiastic about this, like so very short summary about your profession, that is professional summary. Then you should include your skills, maybe technical skills, maybe some non-technical skills as well. I'll talk more about this when you should include non-technical skills as well. And you should include your projects as well. So this is what represents you. So project section is very important. College grad should include their academic projects or their freelancing or sponsored projects as well. Those are also fine, you can include those as well. And experienced people should include the most impactful projects, I mean where they have worked and it had a lot of impact, so those can be included. And after that you should also include your accomplishments, so you might have got some rewards, some awards, something like that, so those you can include here. Then you should include certifications as well. Certifications are important because many companies demand for certifications, and it might be possible that you are not from the IT or CSS stream, you might be from some other stream, because the many people are switching from some other streams like mechanical, electrical and all. So if you are from other stream, so many companies demand for the certifications, professional certification basically. So if you have any certification, you could include those details as well. And you should include your education details as well. So these are the skills which must be included in your resume, whether you are fresher or whether you are experienced, that doesn't matter, but you must include these skills in your resume. Now let us talk about the skills which are important for freshers only. Okay, so if you are fresher, you should include your coursework. So coursework is what subjects you had in your academics, and include those subjects which are really important or which are related to your career basically. So don't include subjects like I had biology, I had environment, I had mechanical as well, because in some of the colleges we have these subjects as well during first year. So don't include those subjects. Include only those subjects which are related to our career basically. Then you should write your extracurricular activities as well. So in college it is not expected that you are only studying, so you should also take part in some extracurricular activities. So you might be attending some college clubs. So many colleges have some clubs related to the technology, related to some personality development as well. So you might be attending and you might have handled some position as well, so you can include the details about that thing here. You might have also taken part in some sports, right? So you could include that as well. and I'm talking about freshers. Okay, you might have taken part in some competitions, not particularly coding competitions. Those could be coding competitions, or those could be some other competitions like maybe hackathons, maybe some paper presentation, maybe something, maybe speech competition, anything. So you can also mention about that thing here, right? And it is also possible that you could include hobbies and interest as well. Now let us discuss about some of the do's. So your resume should be very minimal. I prefer one pager. Sometimes it may go to 2 pages for some people, but I preferably go for one pager resume. Your resume should be very neat and clean, and that should be readable, because if the interviewer or hiring manager or the recruiter is reading your resume, they shouldn't feel like yaar kya likha hai isne. So that shouldn't be the case, right? So they should feel like they want to read more, they want to read everything in your resume. So your resume should be clean, neat, and readable. When you are writing your contents in your resume, so the most important section or most important information should be mentioned first in your resume. So that should be the order. Why? Because the interviewer don't have much time to read your resume, so they don't take more than 10 seconds or 15 seconds to go through your resume. Okay, so most important information should be mentioned first in your resume. And when you are writing information about your projects, include the projects details in reverse chronological order. So this means that the very recent projects should be mentioned first, and then the older projects basically. Include projects which have significant impact. This means that you might have worked on hundreds of things, right? But you can't include everything in your resume. So include only those projects which has impact, right? And on which you have worked on basically. And for college grad students, if you have worked on say 5 projects, then include only 3 projects which has more impact basically, which are deployed, which are currently in use. I mean, some users are using your projects basically. And always quantify your work. So if you have worked on something and that had a greater effect or that had some impact, right? So for example, if you have worked on something and the latency reduced from maybe 10 seconds to 1 second or 500 millisecond, so you should specifically mention that thing, that after I have worked on this thing and the latency reduced from 10 seconds to 500 milliseconds, right? So that has impact, right? And the other example could be you have worked on the project which handles 5 million traffic, 10 million traffic, right? So this is how you quantify your work. So always try to quantify your work. And the most important thing, the fonts should be very consistent. So maintain the color shades. You are having red color, then you are also having blue color, then you are also having green color or black color. So don't do this. If you are having one color, then only use the shades of that color, maybe some faint color, maybe some dark color likewise. And avoid using very dark colors like dark red, dark blue, that way. So, and as I said, have consistent formatting. So the text size, the font which you have used, etc. should be very consistent. So continuing to previous slide, try to avoid jargons, because the interviewer might not be aware of some of the keywords which you have used for your projects. So for example, there might be some keywords in machine learning, maybe deep learning, or maybe blockchain and all. So try to avoid the keywords which are not common. Okay, so jargons are the keywords which are hard to understand or which are not very common, right? So try to avoid those jargons. Next thing is use verbs like laid, managed, I laid, I managed, I developed this thing. So this really helps. This represents your responsibility, right? So always use such words. We also have to mention our contact details like our mobile number and email address, and also we include some social links like GitHub and LinkedIn link in our resume. So double check these details are correct. Also your resume should have proper naming. So many people mention like resume.pdf, document.pdf, so or just shivshankar.pdf. So these are not good conventions, I would say. So I follow conventions like I start with resume keyword, then I write my name, then I write the month and year when my resume was last modified. So the example could be resume _Shivshankar _September 2022. You can also include the position related details like resume underscore Shivshankar underscore Java developer underscore September 2022. So the next thing is add hyperlinks wherever possible. And the most important thing, proofreading. If your resume is complete, read your resume yourself twice, thrice, 4 times, 5 times, and try to check if there are any grammatical errors. Check if everything is correct, if there are no mistakes. Also, you can ask somebody else to read your resume, and they might also figure out some mistakes, right? So this is a very important thing. I hope you understood do's. Now let us talk about some of the don'ts. So first thing, don't include anything which you are not sure about. So for example, if you have very less experience with HTML, don't need to include that, because if interviewer asks questions on HTML, how you would be able to answer, right? So don't include anything which you are not aware of or which you are not sure about, right? The other thing, use professional email. Many people have emails like this Raju the gamer at gmail.com, ram01 underscore rocks. Some people have numbers in their email, so don't share such emails. Don't write such emails on your resume. This is purely unprofessional. Instead, you can have emails like this way. You can have only your name or your surname or name and maybe some initials of your middle and last name. So that should work basically. But don't include numbers, these unnecessary underscores, and these unnecessary some other keywords, some gamer, some coder. So don't do this. Use very professional email. Also, don't write your personal information like your marital status, whether you are married or not, what is your age, what is your weight. Irrelevant information, right? So don't write this personal information. Don't be too abstract. So as I said earlier, don't just say I developed REST APIs. Mention the impact of developing the REST APIs. Maybe as I said, I reduced the latency from 10 seconds to 1 second. So that is the specifics, right? So don't be too much abstract. The next thing, don't write declaration. So this is very bad habit many people follow. I hereby certify that the above given information are true and correct as per my knowledge and blah blah. So not needed. So whatever you have mentioned in your resume is all about yourself, right? So that must be true. It is expected that the information must be true, right? So you don't need to declare and you don't need to sign your resume. Now let me take you through the sample resumes. So this was my resume when I was fresher. This is the exact resume which I used that time and which I shared with the recruiter. So one mistake you could observe is I didn't have the hyperlinks for LinkedIn profile and the GitHub profile. So I have included some other things as well in the basically header section, and I have also included the hyperlinks for my mobile number and my email address, so that if the recruiter clicks on this from his mobile phone, then he should be able to directly call me, or if he or she clicks on this link, then he or she should be able to mail me, whether it's from desktop or mobile phone basically. Then I have mentioned about my career objective. Then I have mentioned about education. So as I said, education should be at the very first in your resume. And that's my mistake. I should have mentioned the education details in reverse chronological order. So my BTech information should be at first, then my higher secondary and secondary information. So it's not mandatory you should mention this secondary or higher secondary information, but I suggest you to include higher secondary and your graduation details, because some companies judge you. So this is bad thing, but some companies judge you depending on your higher secondary information as well. So you can include BTech first and then higher secondary. Then I have mentioned about my skill sets. I have categorized them into programming skills and technologies, then into job skills. So I have mentioned job skills as well, because if you are experienced, then you don't need to explain job skills, because you already know what job skills are required. But being a fresher, we should know that these job skills are required. So I have mentioned those. Then I have mentioned some other technical skills as well. Then I have mentioned my certification details. Then I have mentioned about my coursework. So what courses were there during my academics basically. Then I have talked about my extracurricular activities. This way you can talk about your extracurricular activities. Then I had worked on some sponsored projects. I had done some freelancing as well during my college days, and that had a very great impact on my interview community involvement. So as I was fresher, I thought this might impress the recruiter or the interviewer, or they might get curious to know more about this thing, and that thing happened actually. The recruiter actually asked me, how do you inspire people, how do you familiarize unknown people? Because we are fresher, the recruiter or the interviewer are definitely more curious to know about ourselves. So some non-technical things are okay to have in our fresher resume basically. Then I wrote about my hobbies, and then I have mentioned about my projects. I have categorized my project section as well in two parts: academic projects and non-academic projects. So in academic projects I have included the important academic projects, and this is also in wrong order basically. So as I said, the project should be in reverse chronological order. So this project should have been at first and then the other projects basically. Then I have mentioned about my non-academic projects. So I had worked on some sponsored projects that time, and then I have mentioned about my competitions. So as I said, this doesn't need to be your coding competition only. So you can mention any competition, because you are college grad, you are expected to take part in many things as well. So I think, as I said, I like one-pager resume, so I have tried to cover many important things in one page only. And yeah, I think that's it explains everything about me. So this is the resume for experienced people. So this resume helped me to crack into it basically. So this is definitely looking better, right, than the earlier one. This is more clean, more readable. It has line spacing as well, proper line spacing. Everything is looks like well maintained, right? So let us go through this. I have mentioned my picture as well. I used a very old picture. I know it's outdated now. Then my name. I have mentioned my contact details here. I have also included the hyperlinks for my LinkedIn profile and then my GitHub profile as well. So I think I have improved on the earlier mistake. Then I have mentioned about my professional summary. As I said, in professional summary you have to talk about your experience and what you love, what are your interests. So I have mentioned that I love to build and maintain high performance systems and always keen to find new and challenging opportunities to grow and contribute to the organizational success basically. So here what I have taken care is I want to grow and I want to also contribute to the organizational success. Then at very first I have mentioned about my work experience or projects basically. One thing you can observe here, I haven't mentioned about my education details at very early. I have mentioned about my education detail at the end of the resume, and that too only graduation details, because for experienced people your education details doesn't matter much. So when recruiter comes to my resume, they should be able to know where I have worked on their first site only, right? They should be able to know what are my skills on their first site only. They should be able to know what are my accomplishments on the first site only, right? These hobbies, education, not much important, right? Then you can observe I have given overview of what I have done at PubMatic. Then I have given overview of what all technologies I have used while working at PubMatic. Say bullet points show my contributions to the projects. So why I have said this thing? Because with bullet points I have used only phrases. I haven't used the sentences, complete sentences, right? Just to save the space and keep the resume very minimal and to the point basically. Then I have mentioned about the projects, and those are in reverse chronological order only. And while mentioning about the projects, I have mentioned about the impact. I have mentioned about the awards which I have got for each project. Then you can observe one thing, I have quantified my resume. I have mentioned that after working on this project, the SLA or the time got reduced from 90 minutes to 5 minutes. So after reading this, definitely the interviewer, the hiring manager or the recruiter is going to be impressed, right? So that's why I have made it bold. Then I have mentioned that this system handles 5 million daily traffic. This is how we quantify our information. Then I have given details what exactly I have worked on, what was my contribution, and I have also highlighted some of the things, right? So likewise, now let's come to the skills section. You can observe one thing, the skills are very much organized. I have mentioned what languages I know, what frameworks I know, what database I have worked on or I am good at, what dev tools I know, what build tools I know, any other things I know. Then I have also mentioned that I have no wise experience in these things basically. So this looks very organized, right? After skills I have mentioned about my accomplishments. So I had got these many awards, so during my college days or during the PubMatic time. So I have mentioned about these, and then I have mentioned about hobbies, because hobbies are also important. You can't be only technical person, you should be non-technical as well, right? So I have also mentioned about my hobbies, and if there's space constraint, then you can exclude this thing. And then I have mentioned about my education. So I hope you learned something by looking at this resume, and it has definitely the impact. I have got many calls from most of the top companies with this resume only. So yeah, this would definitely help you. One thing you might be wondering about is how I created this resume. Have I used any tool? Have I used any online website? Have I used any online resume builder or something? So the simple answer is I have used only Microsoft Word. I have the editable version of this. You can see this I have opened in Microsoft Word. So I have opened this in read only mode so that I don't edit anything. So this is the docx version basically, and I use this only to update my resume. But the question is why I used Microsoft Word, why I didn't go for the resume builders or the tools. The simple answer is I go for flexibility. So if I use Microsoft Word, I have flexibility, I can do anything any way I want basically. But if I am using the builder or the tool, then I have to use whatever they say, whatever way they format my resume. So I lose that flexibility. So that's the reason I go for Microsoft Word. So friends, if you are watching video till this point, this means you were really interested about what I was sharing, and now at this point I'm going to share some tips for you. So friends, always keep updating your resume. Always share PDF files to the recruiters. Don't share any docx files, or there won't be text files, but always share PDF files. Don't share images or maybe docx files. Keep the PDF and editable file on cloud. I think there's some typo, I have missed the PDF keyword here. So you can keep your PDF and editable file on cloud like Google Drive, so that you can open that thing from any machine, even from your mobile as well, right? And anytime you can access that thing. The other important thing, add your resume in LinkedIn featured section, because if some recruiter reaches out or visits your profile, then they'll be able to find your resume easily. So friends, that is all about today's video. Now I'm pretty sure that you will be able to create your own resume and you will be able to impress the recruiter, and hopefully the recruiter or the hiring manager don't reject your resume. So if you have any more questions, then feel free to drop them in the comment section and I'll definitely try to answer those questions. If you like this video, don't forget to like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe my channel. So stay tuned for the next videos in the series, and until then keep watching Crack Interview with Shiv. Bye.